6 years ago, I stood in a garage outside Osaka that hadn't been opened all winter. I expected dust, cobwebs, maybe a musty smell. Instead, the tools on the wall still gleamed. The concrete floor was bone dry. Not a single spot of rust on anything, even after months of cold and rain outside. The owner just shrugged and said, "We were just never taught to do it wrong." That sentence has stuck with me ever since, because most American garages are quietly doing 12 things wrong without ever realizing it. One small habit at a time, and every single one of them is fixable by tonight. Number 1. Sealing the garage completely shut. Most people believe a sealed garage is a protected garage. Windows shut, vents taped over for winter, the door only opening twice a day. It feels efficient, but it's the opposite of protection. In Japanese building philosophy, there's a concept called kazidori, literally wind passage. A structure is only healthy if air can actually move through it. A sealed garage doesn't keep moisture out, it locks moisture in and traps it against every metal surface you own. The moment air can circulate, even through one cracked vent or a screened window, condensation stops forming on tools, chrome, and shelving overnight. You'll notice it the next morning. Surfaces that used to feel faintly damp stay dry, and that metallic smell of oxidizing steel starts to fade after a week or two of consistent airflow. Crack one vent or window permanently, even in the dead of winter. It's the cheapest fix on this entire list. And most people skip it simply because it feels counterintuitive to leave a garage even slightly open in the cold. But a few degrees of lost heat is nothing compared to a season of silent corrosion. Number 2. Parking a wet or snow-covered car straight inside. It's cold, it's raining, you just want to get inside. Pulling straight into the garage feels like the responsible move. But a wet car is basically a humidity machine. Snow melting off a hood in a closed space can raise interior humidity by 15 to 20% within an hour. And that moisture doesn't stay on the car, it settles onto every surface in the room. Letting a car sit under an awning for even 10 minutes before pulling it in cuts that moisture load, dramatically protecting the tool chest against the wall, the boxes on the shelf, the bike hanging from the ceiling. All of it stops absorbing water it never needed to touch. Wipe the vehicle down or let it air dry before it comes inside. Your garage isn't a towel, and every gallon of melted snow you bring in has to evaporate somewhere, usually straight into whatever you own. Number 3. Storing tools without an oil film. Tools go back on the pegboard or into the drawer. Bare metal. Straight after use. It's fast. It's habit. And most people assume steel is tough enough to handle it. Traditional Japanese tool keeping uses something called an aburanuno, an oil-treated cloth kept right beside the workbench specifically to wipe every tool before it's put away, even if it already looks clean. That microscopic oil layer breaks the bond between bare steel and airborne moisture. Tools that get this treatment can go years without a single rust spot, even in humid climates, while identical tools 2 feet away, left untreated, develop pitting within a single season. Keep one oiled rag within arm's reach of your workbench and wipe before you store, not when you remember to. Because later is exactly how tool drawers turn into rust museums, one forgotten wrench at a time. Number 4. Keeping boxes directly on the concrete floor. Concrete looks solid, dry, and permanent, so boxes, bins, even wood furniture go straight down onto it without a second thought. But concrete is porous. It wicks ground moisture upward continuously. Japanese storage tradition uses sunoko, slatted wood pallets, specifically to keep anything organic or porous elevated off the slab. Do that, and cardboard paper fabric and untreated wood stop absorbing moisture from below, which means no mildew smell, no soft, rotting corners, and no ugly surprise when you finally open a box after 2 years and find the bottom has quietly turned to pulp. Nothing organic should ever touch bare concrete. A cheap wood pallet or plastic riser solves this permanently, and it takes about the same effort as setting the box down in the first place. Number 5. Ignoring a flat, non-sloped floor. Most people never think about their garage floor's slope at all. It's concrete. It's flat. It does its job. But garages built with any water exposure in mind are given a deliberate slope toward a drain point, so nothing pools, even after a leak or a wet tire tracks in. Standing water, even an eighth of an inch, sitting against a floor for days, is enough to start pitting metal legs, rotting wood bases, and breeding mold at the wall line. And by the time you notice the discoloration, the damage underneath is usually already 3 steps ahead of what you can see. If you can't re-slope the floor, at minimum keep a squeegee by the door and clear standing water within the hour, not the week. It takes 90 seconds, and it's the difference between a dry floor and a slow foundation problem that costs thousands to reverse once it's set in. Number 6. Leaving oil and fluid spills unattended. A drop of oil under the car. A small transmission fluid stain. It feels cosmetic, not urgent, and "I'll clean it this weekend" becomes a permanent floor decoration. But fluid spills are treated as immediate hazards, not stains, because oil residue holds moisture against concrete and metal far longer than a dry spot ever would, accelerating corrosion in everything sitting nearby. Clean within the hour, and that spill never becomes a permanent moisture trap under your car, your shelving, or your storage bins. The concrete stays sealed instead of slowly soaking in oil that darkens and spreads for months afterward. Keep absorbent granules or a rag box at the entrance, and treat every spill like it's still wet, even a day later, because oil doesn't dry the way water does. It just sits there, working. Number 7. Skipping the seasonal deep reset. Garage cleanouts happen once a year, if that, usually triggered by frustration rather than maintenance, and usually rushed. Osuji, the traditional deep clean performed at the turn of each season, isn't about tidiness at all. It's a maintenance ritual. Every surface wiped, every corner checked for early moisture damage, every tool inspected, 4 times a year instead of once. Small problems. A hairline of rust, a soft patch of drywall, a slow leak. Get caught in week 1 instead of month 11, while there's still a 5-minute fix instead of a $400 repair. The cleaning isn't really the point. The inspection that happens while you clean is. Pick 4 dates on your calendar right now, 1 per season, and give the garage 20 minutes each time. 20 minutes, 4 times a year, beats 1 exhausting weekend nobody actually enjoys, and it means you catch trouble while it's still small enough to ignore the fact that you're even fixing it. Number 8. Never monitoring. Humidity. Nobody thinks to put a thermometer in a garage, let alone a hygrometer. Climate control feels like something for the living room, not the storage space. But a small humidity gauge, sometimes paired with a compact dehumidifier, is standard in Japanese garage setups because once humidity crosses roughly 60%, corrosion rates on exposed metal accelerate sharply. And most garages sit above that number without anyone knowing it. A $10 hygrometer tells you in real time whether your garage is in the danger zone, turning a guessing game into a number you can actually act on, and letting you know within days whether the vent you cracked or the pallet you added actually worked. Buy the gauge before you buy anything else on this list. You can't fix a problem you can't measure. And most people are shocked to find their dry garage sitting at 70% humidity or higher. Invisible to the eye, but doing damage every hour of every day. Number 9. Trapping rubber and vinyl against sunlight or damp walls. Spare tires, hoses, gaskets, and floor mats get shoved against whichever wall has space, often the one closest to a window or the exterior wall, which is usually the dampest. Rubber and vinyl should be stored away from both direct light and exterior-facing walls, because UV exposure dries and cracks rubber from the outside while damp walls rot it from behind, a slow decay from 2 directions at once. Store tires and hoses in a shaded interior-facing spot, and they can outlast their expected shelf life by years instead of degrading silently before you ever use them. No surface, cracking, no brittle edges, no dry rot smell when you finally pull them out. Move rubber items to your garage's most interior, most shaded wall today. It costs nothing and adds years to their life, which makes it one of the highest value 5-minute changes on this entire list. Number 10. Ignoring exterior drainage and gutters. Gutters feel like a roof problem, not a garage problem. Something to think about in fall, if at all. But exterior water management is treated as part of the garage system itself, because water pooling against a foundation doesn't stay outside. It seeps through slab edges and wall bases slowly, over months, invisibly. Clean gutters and a simple downspout extension redirecting water away from the garage wall stop foundation seepage before it ever becomes an interior mold or rust problem. And it's a problem that once it starts, is far more expensive to reverse than to prevent. Walk your garage's exterior after the next heavy rain. If water is pooling within 3 feet of the wall, that's the leak you haven't found yet, and it's already working its way toward everything you store inside, one rainfall at a time. Number 11. Overcrowding corners and blocking airflow paths. Garages fill up the way closets do. Whatever doesn't have a home gets stacked in a corner, and corners stack higher every year. There's a principle called MA, the deliberate use of empty space applied even in small storage areas, because a corner packed floor to ceiling has no airflow, and no airflow corners are where mold and rust start first, hidden from view. Leave even 6 inches of breathing space around dense storage, and air keeps moving behind boxes and shelving, catching problems before they spread to everything stacked nearby. Instead of you discovering an entire back row has been quietly rotting for a year, pick your most crowded corner and remove 1 row. Airflow needs a path, not a wish, and that one gap is often all it takes to change how the whole corner behaves for good. Number 12. Treating the garage door seal as a one-time install. The rubber seal along the bottom of the garage door gets installed once at construction or purchase and is never inspected again. Out of sight, out of mind. Door seals should be checked seasonally the same way tires are checked for tread, because a worn seal doesn't just let in cold air, it lets in wind-driven rain, ground moisture, and pests, all of which accelerate everything on this list at once. Replace a cracked or flattened seal for under $20 and you close off the single largest entry point for outside moisture in most garages, often more than every window and vent combined. Press your thumb into the seal right now. If it doesn't spring back, it's already failed, and it's failing your entire garage with it, quietly every single time it rains, letting in exactly the kind of moisture every rule before this one was trying to keep out. None of these 12 rules are complicated. None of them require a renovation, a contractor, or a new garage. What they require is a shift in how you see the space, not as a room where things wait, but as a room that is constantly, quietly reacting to moisture, air, and time, whether you're paying attention or not. Notice something about all 12 of these. Not one of them costs real money. A vent left open. A wet car left outside 10 extra minutes. An oiled rag by the workbench. A wood pallet under a box. These are decisions, not purchases, and that's exactly why they get skipped. There's no receipt to remind you, no product to unbox, no satisfaction of buying a solution. Just a habit, repeated correctly, week after week, until it becomes so automatic you stop thinking about it entirely. The Japanese approach was never really about garages at all. It was about a simple idea. Neglect isn't a single event. It's 1,000 small permissions, granted one at a time, until rust and rot are just the final signature on a decision you made months ago without noticing. Nobody wakes up and decides to ruin their tools. They just stop wiping them down one Tuesday and never start again. And 6 months later, they're standing exactly where I stood in that garage outside Osaka, except looking at the opposite result. You don't need to fix all 12 of these today. Pick one. The one that made you glance sideways at your own garage while reading this. The one where you already know, deep down, exactly what you'd find if you walked out there right now. Fix that one this weekend, and let it teach you how to see the other 11. That's usually how it goes. One fixed habit makes the next one obvious, and by the third or fourth, you're not following a checklist anymore. You're just someone who takes care of a garage the way it was always meant to be taken care of. Which rule are you breaking right now? Tell me in the comments, the number, not just the name. And if this changed how you look at your own garage, you know what to do next.